So this is Saint, and simply put, it's a 2D side-scrolling shooter. So that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so here we go, and let's start off by showing off our most basic primary projectile. Now this thing can be upgraded and we will get secondary projectiles, but not for a while. There are a whole lot of cannon fodder enemies in this game that come at you in droves, and they can easily be defeated with our normal attack, but later enemies not so much. These enemies right here actually shoot a bullet straight at you as they die, so we do have to be wary. We just picked up a power-up for our primary shot. There are two kinds of power-ups, and this one enables us to shoot faster and harder. This orange one up here, on the other hand, it splits off into different shots upon impact, and I like it better for that reason. Something you tend to learn about this game really fast is that you have to pick off the cannon fodder enemies as quickly as possible, because otherwise they can get very overwhelming. Luckily, that's exactly what the power-ups are for. It may not seem very apparent, but this wall right here that's shooting at us is actually an enemy, and we do have to shoot back. It does take a whole lot of hits, though. Something worth noting is that, unlike some other games of this type, our hitbox is just as big as our character is. This means that swerving around enemy bullets can be kind of difficult, but like most things in this game, that can be overcome with power-ups. The power-ups in this game are very, very important. Yeah, this wall's gonna be here a while. We took a hit there, but that's alright. We have a health bar for a reason. Right up here we have exactly the power-up I was talking about. It's inside one of these guys. There it is. That's the speed up. It allows us to move faster, as you might have guessed, and makes dodging enemy bullets much easier. And down there is another primary attack power-up which stacks with the one we have and makes us even more powerful. Something kind of special happens when we get a full power meter, but let's not spoil it. I'm trying to give this guy a chance to use his second attack, and there it is. It shoots in a seemingly straight line, but it actually curves to get you, as you're seeing right here. And of course, staying on the very left of the screen protects us from his headbutt. Now what we have here is a chance to get secondary ammo, and we're going to make use of that heavily because we really, really need it. What we just got are the Flea Bomb and Gut Bomb, and we're mostly going to be using the Gut Bomb during this stage because it's very useful for taking out cannon fodder enemies. It drops out right beneath us, but also shoots straight across the screen, meaning everything below us is perfectly taken care of. In combination with our already beefed up primary attack, this means that surviving the stage is much easier. Something it can be a little bit hard to put into perspective is just how difficult this game is without the power-ups. Yeah, the game looks super easy when you're all beefed up, but surviving long enough to get beefed up is the issue, because you lose all your power-ups when you lose a life. If you manage to survive long enough to put quite a few power-ups together, then the stages are rather easy and short. But if you die before you get the chance, then it's a rather long and grueling struggle just to survive. I mean, I'm sure you can see how all of this opposition would be causing problems for me if I weren't destroying them before they had the chance to act. That's not to say I can't still die. The game has auxiliary hazards in place to stop me from just utterly obliterating everything, but the stage is still significantly easier. Speaking of which, here are those other hazards now. Those cannons in the background will shoot at the foreground, and we can't do anything about it but dodge them. So I'm sure you can see how if we only had our basic shot, this would be a pretty big problem. Because if I died this far into the stage, it wouldn't be a matter of skill. I wouldn't be able to tackle it head-on like I am now, I would be struggling to survive with just a few lives left. This means that there basically is no just doing okay insane. You're either completely thrashing it or you're stumbling through. So unless you immediately learn the importance of power-ups and start stacking them as quickly as possible, the game's going to seem very cheap and unfair. Look at how quickly we destroyed that guy in comparison with our first encounter with him. We're a little low on health because I got a bit careless, but the checkpoint isn't too far. These floating rocks we're destroying are also incredibly hard to destroy, if not impossible, when all you have is the basic shot. So before every boss section, there's a 3D scrolling section that can be controlled either with the control pad or the tilt function of the Wiimote. You can see we have a little crosshair right there that tells us where we're allowed to shoot, but to shoot in the crosshair we have to remain perfectly still, which means we have to get in the line of fire for a few seconds. It's important to note that our power-ups are completely useless during the 3D scrolling sections, but we will still have them after, assuming we don't die. So the entire purpose of this section is basically to try and knock the power-ups out of you right before the boss fight, which is honestly pretty cruel. I guess you could say that this game's design is cruel or unfair in general, and I wouldn't blame you for that. But aside from that, these 3D scrolling stages have a little bit of design on their own. The fact that you need to hold completely still to actually shoot at anything means you need to decide really quickly whether you want to attack an enemy or just evade. Of course, as the game goes on, there will be more complex patterns in the 3D stages, but this one is only the first. And now we're actually approaching the castle we heard about back in the intro. This guy we're about to go fight was actually based on Erlang Shen, which I'm sure I mispronounced, from the novel The Journey to the West. His most defining feature is his third eye, which enables him to cast illusions, though we don't really see that in this game. In the novel, he was a rival to our character, the Monkey King, though for the sake of this game we just kinda want to kill him because he's there. Which is kinda close, I guess? Kinda. And now it's boss time. Scrolling works a little bit differently during boss stages because we can move forward and back, and we can't fire at enemies while we move backwards. We've also started using the Flea Bomb, which fires shots from both the top and bottom of the screen, so we don't have to get too close. His pattern here isn't too difficult, we just have to evade his shots and circle back at him when we can. He actually just shot one of our own shots back at us, which will kill us in one hit. And now he has moved on to his second phase, which adds these floating dragons in addition to his normal shots, though we can still do it no problem with our speed-ups. I could say the bosses are easily the most fun part of the game. They have somewhat interesting patterns, and it's really fun to dodge around all of their attacks. And in spite of how powerful we are, this guy is still pretty challenging, especially with his one-hit kill that we have to be very quick to dodge. He might in fact be the only boss in the game with the one-hit kill move. Alright, now that we've entered his third phase, he's going to start coming at us, but this just gives us plenty of opportunity to unload on him. We do still have to be careful to avoid his slashes, which I wasn't there. So now we're in space, but more importantly, we're finally about to learn what happens when we get our power bar full. As soon as the enemies get here, I mean. Again, these asteroids and other obstacles would be much harder to deal with if we weren't all powered up. And there it is. Now we're in our Monkey King form, which means we can shoot a giant pillar across the screen to kill stuff way before we even reach it, and we're also stronger still with our primary attack. We're pretty much invincible until the timer runs out, so just in case you thought that I was exaggerating about the importance of power-ups, no, I'm really not. I guess you could say that the game's reliance on power-ups is actually an over-reliance, and that the game as a whole is poorly designed and unfair because of this. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but regardless, here it is, we played it, this is what it has to offer.